I was born blind, yet gifted with the ability to see into people's hearts. The heart of one consumed by jealousy glows green, the heart of one filled with resentment is black. It was precisely this ability that led me to marry Li Yanxi, the unfavored fifth prince, in my past life. With this gift, I helped him seize the throne and rule the kingdom. On the day my elder half-sister died of illness, he forced a cup of poisoned wine down my throat. If you, this blind woman, hadn't insisted on choosing me back then, it would have been your sister I married, he snarled. She should be the one sitting beside me, enjoying the glory of ruling the world. How did it come to this, her being forced to marry my elder brother, only to be tormented and played to death by him? After my death, he swapped our coffins. He buried my elder half-sister in the imperial mausoleum with great pomp, bestowing upon her the title of empress. As for me, I was wrapped in a straw mat and tossed into a mass grave. Now, I have been reborn. I find myself back at the banquet where my elder half-sister and I were to choose our husbands. Li Yanxi was the first to step forward, asking for my elder half-sister's hand in marriage. I glanced around, and finally, I saw it, a heart glowing like golden glass. I have made up my mind, a voice declared. I will only marry Yu Wen, the legitimate daughter of the Yu family. Wanwan is my true love. I will never take another wife in this life, nor will I have concubines. At the Mu family's marriage selection banquet, Li Yanxi was desperate to prevent me, this blind woman, from choosing him again. He hurried to my elder half-sister's side, his eyes brimming with feigned affection, and begged for her hand in marriage. As soon as he finished speaking, sympathetic glances from the other guests turned toward me. All the princes have chosen the Mu family's legitimate daughter, none want her. How pitiful, who would want a blind woman anyway? Even the fifth prince looks down on her. I was the concubine-born daughter of the prime minister, and moreover, I had been born with an eye ailment that left me unable to open my eyes. For years, a silk ribbon had covered my eyes, and everyone knew me as the blind maiden. Among all the princes at the banquet, only Li Yanxi had a lowly status. His birth mother was no more than a servant girl who washed feet in the palace. Yet he was also the most handsome. Originally, everyone assumed that the powerless fifth prince would have no choice but to select me, the blind woman, but he walked straight past me and stopped before my stunningly beautiful elder half-sister. A blush spread across my elder half-sister's cheeks, making her as radiant as a peony. Her eyes darted hesitantly across all the princes present. In my past life, my elder half-sister had chosen the crown prince, the one most likely to ascend the throne. Little did she know, the crown prince suffered from a twisted addiction. Only the screams of women could arouse him. In the end, my elder half-sister, despite her seemingly noble status as crown princess, was tortured to death by him in bed within a few short years. What I remembered, Li Yanxi also recalled. His face darkened, a look of anxious affection flashing across his features. He knelt halfway before my elder half-sister and swore, "Wanwan, marry me. I swear I will make you the most honorable woman in the world." I sat beside my elder half-sister. When Li Yanxi spoke those words, he cast a glance of pitch-black loathing in my direction, his eyes filled with disdain and a silent warning. He thought that in this life, even without me, he could still ascend to the throne smoothly, but he had no idea that I had kept a secret from him until my death in my past life. Though I could not open my eyes, it did not prevent me from seeing. Moreover, with these blind eyes, I could see into the very depths of people's hearts. The heart of one consumed by jealousy glows green, the heart of one filled with resentment is black, the heart of one in love blushes pink. The deeper the love, the darker the shade. In my past life, I had used this ability to help him avoid dangers and disasters, saving him from assassinations and poisoned drinks time and again. I had helped him win over officials by catering to their preferences. Also, he could claim the throne, but this life, a cold smile slowly curled up my lips. Li Yanxi thought I would cling to him relentlessly. If he was so eager to marry my elder half-sister, I would simply grant him his wish. I only hoped he would not regret it. Supported by my maid, I stood up, fumbling as I bowed toward the crowd. I am just a blind woman. Indeed, I am not worthy of marrying the fifth prince. My elder sister and the fifth prince are truly a match made in heaven. Li Yanqi deigned to glance at me, a look of surprise flickering in his eyes. Soon, a satisfied smirk tugged at his lips. "Good that you, this blind woman, know your place," he scoffed. "Even if you begged me, I would not marry you this time." Madame Chiu of the Prime Minister's residence was my birth mother. When she heard the fifth prince's mocking words, her face was filled with heartache. She clutched her handkerchief tightly, barely able to restrain herself from revealing my secret. Though Zhao Zhao cannot open her eyes, whoever marries her, she can help them ascend to the throne. Fortunately, my mother's voice was soft, and I quickly cut her off before anyone could notice. Through the silk ribbon covering my eyes, I scanned the princes at the banquet. The second prince had a cruel heart, glowing grey. The fourth prince was lecherous, with a harem full of concubines. His heart blazed a bright red. In comparison, Li Yanqi's heart seemed to have a relatively normal color. It was precisely for this reason that I had chosen the powerless fifth prince in my past life. Who could have known he was merely an expert at hiding his true self? It was not until the day my elder half-sister died that I saw Li Yanqi's true heart color, deep purple, almost black, filled with hatred for me. He poured the poison into my mouth, watching as I choked, gasping for breath and spitting up blood. Yet he did not stop. "My heart has always belonged to your sister," he said coldly. "If you, this blind woman, hadn't insisted on choosing me, how could Wanwan have been tormented to death by my elder brother?" He had swapped my elder half-sister's body into my golden Nanmu coffin, burying her in the imperial mausoleum with the honor of an empress. As for my corpse, he had thrown it into the wilderness, leaving it to be devoured by wild dogs and worms. My elder half-sister raised an eyebrow at me, putting on a generous act. "Sister, take your pick. Which one do you want to marry? Even though all the princes have chosen me, I am the elder sister and the legitimate daughter. After all, whoever you have your eye on, I can let you have them." The color of her complacency in her heart was ugly and glaring. I frowned and averted my gaze. Seeing that I ignored my elder half-sister, Li Yanqi flew into a rage and stepped forward to defend her. "If no one wants you in the end, Yu Zhao," he sneered, "I can still take you in as a servant girl to wash my feet, you blind woman." I was just about to say that I had no interest in any of the princes at the banquet when the sound of wheels turning slowly approached. Surprised, I lifted my head and looked in the direction of the sound. The man in the wheelchair was like a refreshing spring breeze brushing past. His moon-white robe accentuated his elegance and gentleness. More importantly, he had a clear, clean heart like glass, with a wisp of golden light glowing within it, the true aura of a dragon, a sign of imperial destiny. My breath caught. I clenched my hands tightly, my mind going blank for a moment. So it turned out, in my past life, I had chosen the wrong person. I had helped the wrong man ascend to the throne. Going against the will of heaven, that was why I had been struck back and met such a tragic end. I lifted a finger, pointing past Li Yanqi to the man behind him. "He is the one I want to marry." In my past life, Su Xuanyu, the prince of a non-royal clan, had not appeared at this marriage selection banquet. Later, when I was helping Li Yanqi fight for the throne, Su Xuanyu had been sent to a barren fiefdom. When the country fell into chaos, he led soldiers to defend the city, protecting all the people from the flames of war, and fought until his last breath. Li Yanqi's face darkened. He followed the direction of my finger and sneered. "Yu Zhao, you really know how to choose. You're blind and can't see. You've picked a cripple." He laughed mockingly, adding a hint of pity to his tone. "A blind woman and a cripple, truly a match made in heaven." My elder half-sister spoke up in her gentle voice, instantly drawing everyone's attention. "Zhao Zhao, you can't see. So you don't know he's in a wheelchair. How about this? I'll let you choose again." Her words were soft and kind, but her heart glowed a dark green, filled with malice and mockery. Letting out a sigh, my elder half-sister put on a show of sisterly affection. "If you really can't find a husband you like, Zhao Zhao, and no one will take care of you in the future, you can marry with me. You can be my concubine as part of my dowry." She acted as if letting me be a concubine was some great favor I should be grateful for. I shook my head and glanced at them with my eyes covered by the silk ribbon. "I, Yu Zhao, will never be a concubine to anyone." Li Yanqi scoffed. Who else would want you besides being a concubine? Yu Zhao. Take a good look at yourself. Can you compare to your sister Uwn? Su Xuanyu paid no attention to the other's stares. He wheeled his chair over to me, his cool fingertips, like warm white jade, took my hand and placed it on his knee, using this gesture to tell me that he was disabled, that his legs were useless. I touched his knee gently. At my touch, he froze, then his whole body tensed up. I looked again at the color of his heart, then lifted my head and told him, "My lord, I can cure your legs." Li Yanxi's face twisted in anger. He laughed coldly. "You haven't even finalized the marriage yet. Su Xuanyu is just an outsider, Yu Zhao. What kind of decency is it for you to touch his legs like this?" He sneered loudly. "And Yu Zhao, I didn't know you could treat people's illnesses. You're boasting now that you can cure his legs. If you fail, you'll be punished for it." Su Xuanyu also grew interested. His voice was gentle as he asked, "Can you really cure my legs?" I smiled. "I can, but it will require a special kind of stimulation." When Su Xuanyu understood the meaning of my words, his fair, jade-like cheeks instantly flushed pink, and the tips of his ears turned a bright red. He could no longer bring himself to look at my eyes covered by the silk ribbon. Li Yanxi's face darkened to the extreme. His eyes darted between Su Xuanyu and me, and his heart turned the green color of jealousy. I sneered inwardly. What was there to be jealous of? Wasn't Li Yanxi the very person who had poisoned me in my past life, claiming to avenge my elder half-sister Uwn? After the marriage selection banquet, Li Yanxi used the memories from his past life to recall all of Yuan's preferences. Every day, he sent her different gifts to win her favor. Finally, he moved Uwn, who in this life abandoned the crown prince and agreed to marry the powerless fifth prince. At the same time, I received a marriage letter. On it were written the words, "I wish to pledge my heart to Yu Zhao, to be united with her for life and never part." I stroked the handwriting on the letter. The ink seeped through the paper, the calligraphy elegant and forceful, just like Su Xuanyu himself. The marriage between my elder half-sister and the fifth prince was also set. On the same day as my marriage to Su Xuanyu, the 8th day of the month, my elder half-sister came to my courtyard and had her servant hand me a peach-red veil, the kind used by concubines. "Sister, you can't see," she said, "so no noble lord would be willing to marry you. My lord and I are generous. We don't mind your disability. We're willing to give you the status of a concubine, so long as you know your place and serve us well. There's only one grand wedding sedan chair, there's no extra one for you," she said, tilting her chin up, her heart glowing with arrogant red. She looked down at me and ordered, "On the wedding day, you'll walk beside my sedan chair to the fifth prince's residence, and don't forget, you're just a concubine. You have to enter through the side gate." On the wedding day, I didn't touch the peach-red veil my elder half-sister had sent me. Instead, I put on the phoenix crown inlaid with pearls and jade that Su Xuanyu had sent. I walked out of the Yu family mansion together with my elder half-sister. At the gate of the Yu residence, 2 wedding sedan chairs were waiting. One was wider and more magnificent, filled with a delicate fragrance. Without a second thought, my elder half-sister rushed forward and sat down in it. The matchmaker cried out in panic, "Miss, you sat in the wrong one. This is the sedan chair sent by the Su residents to pick up the bride. The fifth prince's sedan chair is behind." The bearers of the sedan chair were not polite. They shook the chair violently. Throwing my elder half-sister out, she fell to the ground in embarrassment and was helped up by her dowry maids. Li Yanxi, who had come to pick up his bride, arrived just then. My elder half-sister, as if she had suffered a great wrong, threw herself into his arms, her voice trembling with tears. "My lord, one hurts so much from the fall. It must be my sister who's jealous that I'm the main wife while she's just a concubine." With tears in her eyes, she looked at me. "Lie, but you've misunderstood. Sister, the fifth prince and I truly love each other. I begged him for a long time before he agreed to let you be a concubine. Don't blame us." As soon as she finished speaking, the common people watching nearby began pointing at me and whispering, "What an ungrateful wretch. I remember the Yu family's second daughter is blind. She should be grateful someone's willing to marry her, even as a concubine." That's right. She's not satisfied with being a concubine, so she deliberately framed her elder sister on the wedding day. making her lose face in public. Li Yanqi's face darkened to the point of being pitch black. His heart was so black it seemed to drip ink, filled with nothing but disgust and hatred for me. After protecting my elder half-sister, he snapped at me in a cold voice. "You Zhao, what right do you have to wear a bright red wedding dress? Do you think this is your past life, where you could marry me as my main wife?" His eyes were cold and sharp, filled with loathing. "The only wife I will have in this life is your elder sister." "UWN, Li Yanqi snarled, "I don't want to do this myself. Hurry up and take off that bright red wedding dress." A corner of my bridal veil slipped open, just enough to reveal my elder half-sister's complacent smile. She was waiting to see me humiliated. I didn't move an inch. Since things had come to this, I might as well stop hiding the fact that I had also been reborn. I spoke in a cold, unfathomable tone. "Li Yanqi, without me in this life, tonight, on your wedding night, will be your last day alive." My elder half-sister clenched her fingers, her voice sharp with feigned outrage. "How can you say such things on a day of great joy, sister?" She swayed unsteadily, looking heartbroken. "I know you had feelings for the fifth prince. I took your place, and you couldn't marry him. But even if you've grown to hate him out of love, you shouldn't curse him like this." Li Yanqi's face darkened. He pulled my elder half-sister into his arms. "The second miss of the Yu family speaks recklessly and curses a prince. Someone seize this blind woman." The burly guards beside him stepped forward, advancing toward me. My voice turned icy. "Aren't you afraid of offending the prince of a non-royal clan?" Li Yanqi raised an eyebrow, a look of arrogant satisfaction on his face. "Su Xuanyu hasn't appeared for so long. He must have just been toying with you, a blind woman. How could he really marry you as his princess? You Zhao, if you kneel and kowtow to your elder sister to apologize, I can be magnanimous and still give you a position as a concubine." I gritted my teeth. Suddenly, a cold, noble voice rang out from behind me. "Who dares to bully this prince's princess?" Su Xuanyu appeared, sitting in his wheelchair, dressed in a red wedding robe. His face was as fair as jade, and his bearing was elegant and dignified. The once handsome Li Yanqi paled in comparison beside him. He wheeled himself over to me and took my cold fingers in his palm. "I'm sorry I'm late," he said softly. "I made you suffer." As my fingertips touched the warm skin of his palm, a wave of warmth rose in my chest. Su Xuanyu's cold eyes turned to Li Yanqi, who just told my princess to kneel, break his legs. Li Yanqi's face turned ugly. "I am also a prince. How dare any of you touch me?" Su Xuanyu chuckled. "An unfavored prince dares to bully my princess, and even wanted her to be your concubine." Li Yanqi, for some reason, found the courage to retort, "My lack of favor is only temporary. Sooner or later, I will make all of you regret this. I gave you a chance to be my concubine. You Zhao, when the time comes, even begging me won't help." I glanced at him, seeing the arrogant, conceited color of his heart. I curled my lips into a sneer. Li Yanqi thought he was the destined emperor, that the throne was sure to be his. But he didn't know, without me to twist fate for him, he would always be just a lowly worm in the gutter. First, he had to survive tonight, on our wedding night. Su Xuanyu and I drank the nuptial wine together. The alcohol flushed his fair cheeks with a faint pink hue. Under his long eyelashes, his eyes gazed at me gently. My mouth went dry, and my heart began to race uncontrollably. "The princess said you could cure my leg ailment." He leaned closer, his voice low and hoarse. "How?" I smiled. "Is your highness ready?" Before he could react, I stood up and sat on his lap, and beneath my wedding dress, I wore nothing. When Su Xuanyu felt what was beneath the fabric, his handsome face instantly turned bright red. He struggled to push me away, but I wrapped my arms around his waist and pressed myself against his legs. I whispered in his ear, which was red as a ripe cherry, "Does your highness no longer want to cure your leg ailment?" In the middle of the night, driven to his limit by my teasing, Su Xuanyu had no choice but to stand up. "How did you know I was faking it?" he ground out. Half annoyed and half amused, pressing me for an answer. I could see the color of his heart. The first time we met, he had lied, and the color of his heart had been a faint green. That was how I knew he had no leg ailment at all, that he wasn't a cripple. Meanwhile, Li Yanqi, who had married on the same day, was not having such a pleasant night. In my past life, someone had poisoned his nuptial wine. I had noticed the suspicious color of the maid's heart, swapped the poisoned wine, and arrested the maid. Under questioning, she had admitted to being sent by the crown prince. Since it was our wedding day and I didn't want to cause trouble, I had dealt with her secretly. In this life, could my elder half-sister, who had only beauty and no brains, help him escape death once again? Sure enough. The next day, when Su Xuanyu accompanied me to the palace to pay respects to the empress, the fifth prince and his family were nowhere to be seen. As we walked out of the palace, we heard people whispering, "The fifth prince was poisoned by a strange toxin on his wedding night and remains unconscious. The emperor has sent many imperial physicians to treat him, but he still hasn't woken up. The Yu family's legitimate daughter has such bad luck." Something like this happened right after she married. As soon as we returned to the Su residence, we were met by my elder half-sister. She had clearly stayed up all night. Her eyes were red and swollen from crying. And all the glory of her wedding day was gone. She rushed forward, blocking our carriage, and shouted inside, "You Zhao, you bitch! Did you poison the fifth prince, leaving him unconscious?" Su Xuanyu moved to defend me, but I pressed my hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, let me handle this myself." I pressed a light kiss on his cheek, my own cheeks growing warm, and then stepped out of the carriage. When my elder half-sister saw me, her eyes were filled with hatred, as if she wanted to tear me apart. "You Zhao, hurry up and hand over the antidote." "Antidote?" I shook my head calmly. "The fifth prince's poisoning has nothing to do with me, nothing to do with you. How did you know he would die on his wedding night? Do you claim to be able to predict fate now?" She ground out, her teeth clenched. "Stop pretending to be mystical in front of me. You're just jealous that I married the fifth prince. Since you couldn't have him, you wanted to destroy him. You Zhao, you're so vicious and shameless. Hand over the antidote now." My voice turned stern as I warned her. "You keep accusing me of poisoning him. But do you have any evidence? Have you caught the maid responsible, or found the poison?" The maid sent by the crown prince to Li Yanxi was deeply hidden and cautious. If I hadn't been able to see into people's hearts, I would never have noticed her. By now, she had probably already escaped. How could Yu Dublin possibly catch her? My elder half-sister, who had been so arrogant a moment ago, was left speechless, but she still refused to give up, twisting her handkerchief and desperately trying to think of an excuse. "If you keep spouting nonsense and causing trouble at my residence," I said sharply, "don't blame me for reporting you to the authorities." My elder half-sister froze, her gaze fixed on my neck, and her face turned red, then pale. "You really have no standards, sister, even marrying a cripple and consummating the marriage with him. But then again, you're blind and he's a cripple. You're a perfect match, two people no one else wanted, just fitting together." Thinking of what had happened last night, my face grew warm and my legs felt a little weak. A faint smile tugged at the corner of my lips. I was sorry to disappoint her. Su Xuanyu was not only not a cripple, he was more than capable. We moved from the bed to the desk, and finally, he held me as we fell asleep together on the daybed, far more capable than Li Yanxi could ever be. "You Zhao, what are you laughing at?" My elder half-sister saw that her taunts hadn't hurt me. Instead, I was smiling, and her face turned even uglier. I wiped the smile from my lips and said coldly, "I'm laughing. Not only will the fifth prince die, but you will also meet with misfortune. If you want to save your life, I advise you to divorce him as soon as possible." The path to seizing the throne and becoming emperor was never an easy one, and in this life, there would be no one by his side to help him navigate dangers and turn calamities into blessings. "Divorce him," she scoffed. "You think you can trick me into divorcing him so you can sneak in and seduce the fifth prince? I'm telling you, I will never agree." My elder half-sister raised her hand, aiming a slap at my face, but in an instant, an arm pulled me aside. I fell into Su Xuanyu's arms, which had appeared out of nowhere, and sat on his long legs. He grabbed my elder half-sister's wrist, his usually gentle and elegant face now cold as frost. "Who gave you the courage to come here again and again to bully this prince's princess? Do it again, and you will die." He released her hand. My elder half-sister, her face pale from pain, fell to the ground. She looked up at me, still wanting to say something, but Su Xuanyu issued an order. "From now on, Anyone associated with the fifth prince is forbidden to come within half a step of the princess. After my elder half-sister was driven away, I began having my servants pack our things, preparing to leave for Su Xuanyu's fiefdom with him. As I watched the servants bustling about, I looked through the silk ribbon over my eyes at a tall, dull-looking guard. The color of his heart was gray, tinged with the murderous intent of betrayal. I leaned close to Su Xuanyu's ear and asked, "Who is he?" Su Xuanyu glanced at the guard and replied, "His name is Afeng. He's been my guard since we were children." I looked at him seriously. "Husband, do you trust me?" Su Xuanyu smiled, the tips of his ears turning a lovely pink like peach blossoms. "You've already called me husband, how could I not trust you?" I moved even closer to his ear and whispered, "There's something wrong with this man. We need to change the route to the fiefdom, but no one must know about it." I remembered that in my past life, Su Xuanyu had been ambushed on his way to his fiefdom and seriously injured. That was why he had been unable to defend his territory, and finally died in battle on the city walls, never retreating a single step until his last breath. When I turned my head, my lips brushed against his cheek, then pressed against his soft lips, which carried a faint, delicate fragrance. I tried to pull back, but he held me tight and pulled me onto his lap. The guard had been glancing in our direction. When he saw this, he quickly looked away. Su Xuanyu pressed a light kiss behind my ear and murmured, "Still want to cure my legs? Can you wait until tonight, my lady?" The next morning, when I woke up, the guard was gone. "My lady is truly amazing," Su Xuanyu said. Placing another chicken leg in my bowl was already piled high with food. He really was a spy sent by the crown prince. He accompanied me through life and death for so many years, yet he refused to admit a single thing until we tortured him. "How did you know?" My gaze lingered on his chest for a moment. The color of his heart was still normal, no suspicion, no fear. I relaxed. "I just guessed," I said lightly. Su Xuanyu smiled gently. "My lady may be blind, but your heart is clearer than anyone else's. It is my good fortune to have married you. You must have been tired from curing my legs last night. Eat more, we need to hurry back to the fiefdom this afternoon." The punishment for helping him uncover the spy was being stuffed full of food. In the end, he carried me in his arms, placed me on his lap, and we sat in his wheelchair to board the carriage. Once inside the carriage, I held my rounded stomach and leaned against his chest. "Husband, when will your leg ailment be cured? When will you stand up from the wheelchair?" Su Xuanyu hesitated for a moment, then pressed a kiss to the top of my head. "Does my lady dislike that I appear as a cripple to others? Just wait a little longer." The Su family, as a non-royal clan with the title of prince, already holds too much power and has long been watched with suspicion. If I weren't a cripple, I would likely not have lived to this day. I understood. A flash of hatred and restraint passed through his glass-like heart. The Su family had fought alongside the founding emperor to unify the country, which was why they had been granted the title of prince, but as non-royals, they were even more feared and distrusted. No wonder he had always presented himself as disabled to the outside world. It was the only way to ease the emperor's wariness. In truth, I didn't care that much when he would stand up from the wheelchair. After all, he was more than capable at night. When we arrived at Yuanju, Su Xuanyu's fiefdom, it was a little barren, but far from the imperial capital and full of freedom. The people in the city loved and respected Su Xuanyu deeply. One day, I took my servants into the city to buy things. The townsfolk greeted me happily, calling me princess, and refused to take my money. In the end, I left the money with them and ran back to the prince's residence with my maid. My maid sighed. "Even though the princess can't see, she runs really fast." Su Xuanyu remembered those words. That night, when I was curled up in his arms, exhausted, he reached out and stroked the silk ribbon over my eyes. "My lady, can you really not see?" I took the ribbon off myself. Revealing my eyes that could not open, he gently tied it back on, his voice full of pity. "Even if you can't see, it doesn't matter. I'm here. I will be your eyes." From that day on, the color of Su Xuanyu's heart turned a little pinker every time he looked at me, like cherry blossoms blooming on a branch. Whenever I drew a little closer to him, fed him a bite of food, stayed by his side while he read, or especially when I cured his legs at night, His heart would turn a deep pink as if all the spring flowers in the mountains had bloomed at once. I had never seen such a beautiful color in anyone's heart. For a moment, I felt light-headed, then he pulled me deeper into that sea of pink. Our days in Yuanju were peaceful. Su Xuanyu and I spent almost every moment together until we received a secret letter from the imperial capital. The fifth prince has woken up, but he has been left with aftereffects from the poison. From time to time, he suffers from splitting headaches and flies into violent rages. I sneered. This was only the beginning. His dream of ascending to the throne would never be easy to fulfill in this life. At the same time, an imperial edict arrived in Yuanju. It was the crown prince's birthday, and all officials and princes were invited to attend the banquet. As a non-royal prince, Su Xuanyu had no choice but to go. At the banquet in the imperial capital, I scanned the crowd. The colors of people's hearts varied, each filled with hidden motives. Under my sleeve, I gently squeezed Su Xuanyu's hand. Later, don't eat or touch anything casually, he chuckled, his warm, elegant laughter filling my ears. I know, my lady, I'm not a 3-year-old child. I didn't explain further. In my past life, an assassination had taken place at this very banquet. From the moment she stepped onto the stage, I'd seen through the dancing girl. There was something off about her. A darkness hiding in her heart. In my past life, I'd thrown myself in front of Li Yanxi, taking a blade meant for him. Later, when he became emperor and I mentioned it, he'd already forgotten. Instead, he'd blamed me. Husband and wife are supposed to help each other. You took a knife for me, but it didn't even cost you your life. Do you really need to keep bringing it up? And besides, Emperor Li Yanxi had looked annoyed. I've already made you my empress. What more could you want? Are you deliberately bringing this up to ask for more rewards? As these memories flashed through my mind, the same scene unfolded again in this life. The dancing girl suddenly pulled a short blade hidden in her hair, lunging at the princes at the banquet. But this time, when chaos erupted, Su Xuanyu reacted instantly. He hugged me tightly behind him, almost revealing that his legs were fine in the process. Before we'd left Yuanju, I'd warned him that this banquet was a trap. Su Xuanyu had believed me and brought along many loyal guards. Now, those guards emerged from the shadows, shielding Su Xuanyu and me. We were the only ones safe at the banquet. I cast a cold glance at Li Yanxi's direction. This time, no one would take a blade for him. The elder half-sister sitting beside him had fled in terror, abandoning him without a second thought. Li Yanxi couldn't dodge in time. He was surrounded by assassins. And a blade struck deep into his leg. Blood gushed out like a fountain. In his panic, he looked toward me, his eyes filled with pleading and fear, and the color of regret in his heart was unmistakable. I calmly averted my gaze. I was a blind woman. I couldn't see anything, so there was nothing I could do to help him. The short blades of the assassins were poisoned. After the birthday banquet, Li Yanxi's leg festered repeatedly, refusing to heal. In my past life, I'd taken that blade for him. A wound to my chest, I'd endured the agony of having the poisoned flesh scraped away to recover. Even now, the memory of that pain made my body tremble, but he'd brushed it off as if it were nothing, forgetting it entirely. In this life, he would experience that pain firsthand. The delay in treating his leg left it permanently crippled. He became a lame man, forced to sit in a wheelchair just like Su Xuanyu had pretended to. Another secret letter soon arrived in my hands. Li Yanxi is now a cripple. UWN is making a scene, demanding a divorce. Their mansion is in shambles from her tantrums, and all the servants are laughing at them behind their backs. Half a year passed. Because of his lame leg, Li Yanxi fell even further out of the emperor's favor. Even the officials looked down on him. No one was willing to ally with him or serve him. In his past life, his path to power had been too smooth. He'd thought the throne was within easy reach, never realizing that it was my ability to see into people's hearts that had helped him win over officials, forcing or bribing them to serve him. I'd exploited each person's desires to build him a loyal following. In this life, he'd accomplished nothing. Li Yanxi refused to let go, refusing to allow UWN to remarry, and UWAN, she was consumed with regret. Of all the princes, she'd chosen this useless man. He'd sworn so confidently that he would become emperor and make her the most honorable woman in the world. She even regretted not choosing the crown prince instead. The next news I received was that my elder half-sister had run away with Li Yanqi's money, but this time, when she remarried, she didn't become the crown princess as she had in my past life. Those who ran away to marry could only be concubines, and that's exactly what she became, a lowly concubine of the crown prince. One day, I went out to buy rouge and powder, and I ran into her. She deliberately snatched away all the cosmetics I'd set my eyes on. "Shopkeeper, I'll take all of these," she declared, her nose in the air. She was draped in gold and silver, as if afraid no one would know she was a favored concubine. "Sister, I have to serve the crown prince tonight. I must look my best. You wouldn't compete with me for these, would you?" She deliberately mentioned the crown prince, a proud smile spreading across her face. "Sister, there's no need for you to buy rouge and powder. You can't even see yourself, and your husband is a cripple." She pretended to cover her mouth with her embroidered handkerchief. "Oh, I'm so sorry, I said the wrong thing. Please don't take offense, sister." All eyes in the shop turned to us. I smiled gently, appearing not to care at all. "It's fine," I said, "if you like these. I'll let you have them all." After all, there was no point in arguing with a dead person. When I returned to the Su residence, the sky had darkened and a heavy rain began to fall. Li Yanqi was standing in the rain, his lame leg dragging, demanding to see me. He looked like a stray dog, even the guards couldn't drive him away. I went out to see him. When he spotted me, his eyes lit up, but before he could approach, a guard kicked him away. He fell to his knees in the muddy water, humiliated. He didn't dare come closer. His eyes were dark, filled with unwillingness and despair. "Why," he whispered, "you Zhao, why in our past life could you always prepare for danger in advance, helping me avoid disaster time and time again? I thought seizing the throne would be easy. If a woman like you could do it, a man like me certainly could. But why have I ended up like this?" As he spoke, he flew into a rage, pounding his lame leg in frustration. He collapsed into the rain, letting out a shrill, broken cry. When he'd finished crying and venting, he rolled his wheelchair closer, inching toward me with timidity and humility. "Zhao Zhao, I regret it," he said. "Come back to me, not as a concubine. I'll make you my main wife. If we work together again, we can do what we did in our past life. I'll be emperor, and you'll be my empress." I glanced at his chest. The deep green color of his heart showed that his regret was genuine. A cold laugh escaped my lips. Li Yanqi was wrong. If I were to be empress, who would be emperor? Even in this life, he still hadn't understood that. "Guards," I said, my voice cold and unwavering, "drive him away. Make sure he never comes within a step of this residence again." The final secret letter arrived soon after. My elder half-sister was dead, just like in my past life. She'd been tortured to death in bed by the cruel crown prince. Her face was still covered in garish rouge and powder. The news reached Li Yanqi too. He sat in his wheelchair, his eyes empty and his expression numb as he listened. Suddenly, he burst into wild laughter, his emotions spiraling out of control. Good that she's dead, that worthless bitch," he screamed. "She abandoned me when she saw I was lame, throwing herself at the crown prince to be his concubine. All this time, I didn't become emperor because of you. Is this how you repay me? In our past life, I never should have poisoned Zhao Zhao for you. I never should have let you lie in the imperial coffin to be buried with me." I just finished reading the note and hadn't had time to burn it when Su Xuanyu suddenly pushed open the door. I clenched the note tightly, hiding it in my palm. "Zhao Zhao, it's time to cure my legs," he said. I glanced outside. I'd been so focused on the letter that I hadn't noticed how dark it had gotten. "I'll do it today," I started to say, but he wrapped his arms around my waist, cutting off my words. I felt a twinge of regret. I never should have used my ability to see into his heart to expose his pretense of being a cripple. Now, he could walk perfectly well. He stepped off his wheelchair and carried me to the bed in one smooth motion. But then I looked at his heart, which was a soft, pink color, and I forgot all about refusing. When I woke up again, the note in my hand was gone. "What are you looking for, my lady?" Su Xuanyu asked. I tried to hide my panic. "Nothing. Just checking if the bedding is messy." Su Xuanyu let out a soft, brief laugh. My heart skipped a beat, and I looked at his heart. Sure enough, it was a fiery orange, the color of anger. He pulled out the note and spread it out in front of me. Were you looking for this? You can see, can't you? He asked. My throat felt dry. I couldn't say a word. The orange in Su Xuanyu's heart deepened. Am I not worthy of your trust? Zhao Zhao, is that why you've been lying to me all this time? His voice trembled. When I married you, I didn't care if you couldn't see, but you can see, and you kept it from me. Both the cripple and the blind woman had been pretending. He turned to leave. I scrambled up and hugged him from behind. The red in his heart faded a little. The longer I held him, the paler that color became. Husband, I mumbled, my voice tinged with. His heart turned pink. His heart had already betrayed his true feelings, but he still tried to put on a cold front. Closing his eyes and refusing to look at me, I had to circle around to face him, leaning into his arms. His heart was so pink it seemed to bubble over with affection. Husband, actually, I can do more than just see, I said. It was a secret I'd never told anyone in my past life. I can see the color of your heart too. He opened his eyes in surprise. And there's more, I continued. The world will be in chaos soon. Your fiefdom, Yuanju, will be massacred. You'll die on the battlefield too. His breathing grew faster, but there was not a hint of doubt in his heart. Husband, do you believe what I'm saying? He hugged me tightly, burying his face in the crook of my neck. I believe everything you say, Zhao Zhao. After I confided my secret to Su Xuanyu, he gave me his military tally, letting me command his troops. Over the next 5 years, we not only defended Yuanju but also led our army all the way to the imperial capital. Su Xuanyu finally no longer had to pretend to be a cripple in a wheelchair. Su Xuanyu guarded my secret well. He never asked me to use my ability for his sake. Whenever a newly surrendered official mentioned, the princess is truly foresighted, with a unique ability to judge people. Su Xuanyu would smile proudly and say, Zhao Zhao has always been extraordinary. I'm lucky I married her. Once the world was at peace, the ministers urged Su Xuanyu to ascend the throne and name me his empress. But instead, he issued 2 imperial edicts, both declaring someone emperor. The whole country was shocked. Heaven cannot have 2 sons, a nation cannot have 2 rulers. Yet he was willing to share the world with me, not making me an empress, not reducing me to a shadow behind him. He wanted the whole world to see. His wife was unparalleled, equal to him, ruling the country together as co-emperors, on the platform where kings once competed for power. Su Xuanyu looked around at his disgruntled subordinates and officials, his voice firm. Zhao Zhao stood with me through thick and thin, defending Yuanju. Every hardship I endured, she endured too. What I gave is nothing compared to what she did. She could shake the world even without me, but without her, I would have died on the battlefield long ago. No one should ignore her contributions or her abilities just because she's a woman. If I am emperor, she must be emperor too. Whoever disagrees, I will kill them with my own hands. I am willing to stain my hands with blood and bear the blame of the world to pave her way to the throne. Epilogue. After I ascended the throne, Su Xuanyu and I attended court together, accepting the worship of all officials. He knew full well my abilities. He let me review the memorials and make decisions on state affairs. It was something I could never have dreamed of in my past life. In my past life, not long after I helped Li Yanqi ascend the throne, he grew complacent, indulging in wine and women, taking in many beauties who resembled my elder half-sister. But he hid it well. I could see his heart growing dirty and corrupt. Perhaps I grew numb from watching it, even forgetting to guard against him. In this life, I changed the dynasty's name. The former royal heirs were either killed or imprisoned. Li Yanqi also became a prisoner. Dragging his lame leg, he crawled on his knees to me, reaching out to grab the embroidered dragon robe I wore, begging for his life. Before I could speak, a guard swung his sword, nearly cutting off his filthy fingers. He rambled like a madman. This isn't right. I should be the emperor. You're just my wife. How dare a woman overshadow a man? I gave you the title of empress. What more could you want? You don't deserve the throne or the dragon chair. You Zhao, you're so audacious. Get down now and help me sit up there. Li Yanqi's disgusting face felt horribly familiar. In my past life, When the world fell into chaos, he'd abandoned me and fled. When he was captured by the crown prince, he'd even tried to offer me to the crown prince to save his own life. If I hadn't had the ability to see into people's hearts, I would have died 1,000 deaths. In the end, he'd forced a cup of poisoned wine down my throat, and even the title of empress had been stolen by him and that bitch. How I died in my past life, I would repay him in kind in this life. I ordered the palace servants to force a cup of poison down Li Yanqi's throat, not a fast-acting one, but one that would slowly rob him of his 5 senses, leaving him blind, deaf, and mute. A month later, I went to the dungeon and saw Li Yanqi's corpse. He'd scratched his own face to pieces. The loss of his 5 senses had scared him to death, left him suffocating in his own despair. "Your Majesty, what should we do with this corpse?" a guard asked. I smiled, my voice clear and cold. "Throw it into the mass grave, for the wild dogs and worms to devour." That night, in the imperial bedroom, Su Xuanyu nipped at my earlobe from behind. Sweat stuck to the small of my back. "You went to see him?" he asked. "Yes," I replied, "to see how he died." "Are you even jealous of a dead man?" Su Xuanyu took off the silk ribbon over my eyes and tied it around my wrists. "I'm not jealous," he said, "but let's find something else to make me jealous." The moonlight shimmered on the water, then shattered as we moved. After a long while, he let me rest my head on his chest, his voice hoarse and sated. "Jiao Jiao, what color is my heart?" I laughed. "It's the clearest, most beautiful color in the world."